New look, same great taste. Muse, let's get serious here for a moment, okay? As if I'm not ever serious enough all the time. My glasses are crooked, it seems like. Then that's kind of a metaphor for life, I suppose. Anyway, let's not get into that. I've told you before, and I'll tell you again. My life as a writer very often parallels my life as an actor. My life when I was. I guess I'm always an actor. Once an actor, always an actor. When I was acting professionally. There. Let's clear the air up. And these last couple of days have been a kind of a painful reminder of that. And it served as something for me to talk about. I think something that's really important for artists of all kinds to understand. And what I want to say is very simple on the surface, but not so simple when you really dig into it. When I was an actor, my cat is rubbing up against my table again, and he's really big. Go away. Sorry, Muse. When I was an actor, I was my worst critic. I'm trying to prevent my cat from... I was my worst critic. Nothing any reviewer could say would best any thought that I had about myself. And by best, I mean be more critical of what I had to say. I was constantly putting myself under a very, very, very tight spotlight that illustrated everything wrong that I was doing. And for that effort, I felt like, at least, I was constantly in a state of improving myself, of bettering myself, of trying very hard with every ounce of effort that I could muster to improve my craft. And I think I succeeded somewhat. But even still, even in the idea of a possible success with that, I felt like I failed, because I would criticize myself. I would watch something that I did. I would criticize myself. I would say, here's what I need to improve. I would do my best to improve it. And then in the improving, I would find something more to criticize. I never cut myself any slack at all. I was constantly hammering myself and saying, no, this is wrong. It's got to be better. You've got to be better. Everything has to be better. And that had the added bonus of making any review that I read inconsequential. Because nothing they would say could be any worse than anything I had already said to myself. And so recently, when I'm proofing a book right now that has been through the editing process, and as I'm reading it, I'm being overly critical of myself and saying, I can write this better. I can do this better. This passage it's not acceptable. And I think that what's happening is, because of the last 2 years that I've spent so much time revisiting my process, that I have kind of pulled back the curtain. I've peeked through the veil and finally said, okay, all bets are off. I'm not going to be happy with anything. And it smacks of my time on the stage. And in some ways, it's a great feeling. It's a very freeing feeling, because I get to look at my work and say, okay, nothing is good enough. How do I make it better? How do I continually improve my craft so that I can possibly be happy with something. And then there is this added bonus, this added uber critical bonus of realizing that, is it possible that there are two kinds of writers? Maybe three. There are the storytellers. There are those that are absolutely fantastic at telling a story. They can take the banal and make it fascinating by weaving it into a story. And then there are the I don't have a term for it, the authors, the wordsmiths, those that can take a banal passage and make it beautiful. And I'm sure that there are plenty of other authors out there who are a combination of the two. And I think that part of this discovery of nothing is good enough is part of not knowing where I land, in which camp I lay. And if I don't lay in one of those camps, is it possible that I'm one of those in the middle, and maybe that's where my issue comes, because I'm proofing a story, proofing a book, and I'm enjoying the story, but I'm overly critical of how I'm telling the story, of the words, the way that I put the words together to form the sentences and the paragraphs, and I look at them and I think, that's not artistic. That's common. I don't want common. I don't want common in my books. And then it gets all sorts of convoluted, because every passage cannot be a gem. Because if every passage, and I've said this before, if every passage is a gem, it gets tiresome. And so this overly critical thought that I'm applying to this proofing process gets really complex and confusing. But even so, I'm happy for it. I'm happy for it because I can sense that it is me pushing myself beyond my comfort zone, well beyond my comfort zone. To say, look, over there, way over there, there is a new pinnacle that you have to climb. You have to reach that. And you will not be happy until you try with every ounce of effort you have to reach that. And then once you reach it, you're going to be on a higher level where you can see even higher cliffs. Climb them. Keep climbing. Never, ever stop climbing. Never stop pushing yourself as an artist. And yeah, it's kind of damning. It's kind of soul-crushing at times to never be happy with what you create, ever. That's where I am right now. I'm in a state. I'm slightly verklempt. But I'll get through it. I've gotten through all of this. I'll get through this, And even though the process of writing something new and proofing something can be exhausting at times, mentally exhausting, you suffer through. And you suffer through knowing that in the suffering, what you're going to create will be better for it. I'm glad that I'm one of those artists that's never happy with what they create. Because it tells me that I'm always going to be on the lookout for a better way. I'm always going to be pushing myself to improve, and hopefully the end results will reflect that. And that's really all I can ask of myself. The end result reflects the work that I put in to make myself better. Here's hoping that's the case. Of course, there has to come a time, even though you're constantly behind yourself, jamming your forearm into your lower back to insist you move forward, there has to come a time where you say, okay, I have to let this go. I have to push it forward. It has to be released. It's okay for people to read this now. That's a fine line to trod. Anyway, thank you, Muse, for giving me this moment to vent about my madness. I hope I didn't drive you crazy. I hope I didn't bore you. But I think every artist would agree with me, every true artist will agree with me, that to strive for perfection is the only reality for an artist. Even knowing that perfection can never be achieved. To strive for mediocrity is a slap in the face of art. So don't be mediocre.